Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another First Impressions video. 2 impression videos in a single week. It's a record, that's for sure. And I have to say, the month of June has been really good. And here we are with Final Fantasy XVI. We have Final Fantasy XVI demo. And, oh boy, have I got a lot to talk about this game. And so, the demo itself is comprised of 2 sections. Section 1 being that of the introduction of the game, and then Section 2 is basically, according to what the game says, it takes place a few hours in the game after the events of the starting point of the game. And I'm glad it does that. Because from playing the first section of the game, the very first 2 hours, technically, there's not a lot to go on in terms of gameplay. It's a lot of story exposition, which is probably a good thing. It allows players to kind of get familiar with the story, get adjusted to the gameplay and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of engagement with the game at this point in time. But the second part does get more engaging with the main gameplay aesthetics, which is good because, you want to be able to feel the full experience of the game rather than what the game starts you off with. And what the game starts you off with isn't a lot to go on, versus what the second part of the demo does, which is gives you the full experience of the game, which is good. So what do I think about the game so far? What do I think about everything that the game is hoping to turn out? Well, I'm going to say this for starters. This is going to be one of the best action games of the year. Not necessarily the best RPG, but the best action game. Which is not a bad thing, because this is supposed to be more action-oriented rather than your traditional RPG. And I don't know how to feel about that. It's one thing if it was a little bit more like The Witcher 3 or something like that. But again, this is coming from the demo perspective, and the demo only lets you play as far as it will let you. It's not to say that, there might be a chance that, you may interact with a crafting system, or it will allow you to explore the world and stuff like that. In terms of what the demo gives you, it's not a lot to go on. It's mostly just to experience the main gameplay. In terms of the actual combat gameplay, it's really, really good. Really, really solid. I love the fact that, later on in the game, you're going to acquire different icons, which is what they're called, which allows you to have different abilities, different move sets and stuff. It's essentially like the Dante's different styles, which is really cool to have. You have the Phoenix, which allows you to dash into your opponent's attacks. You have Titan, which allows you to block the attack, which allows you to, after the initial block, do a counterattack move, which is nice. And then, of course, you have, I believe the icon's name is Gardon, however you pronounce it. But it has the ability to pull enemies towards you. So different icons do different things. So I imagine towards the end of the game, you'll have multitude of different icons that you can use, and they will have different abilities that go along with them, which is cool. I love that. Again, it's going to be one of the best action games of the year. But as far as like a traditional Final Fantasy game, which obviously is not gearing towards a traditional Final Fantasy game, is gearing towards a action Final Fantasy game. So to say if it's going to be good, it's hard to say for me, because again, I was only able to experience the gameplay, which is an A. It's an A for me, Exploration, from what I experienced exploration is very minuscule at best. It's hard to say how far in terms of the exploration it's going to go. It's hard to say what the side quests are going to be like. It's going to be hard to say what all you can do in the main game. Because right now, in terms of the demo, you're only given 2 sections of the game. You're not really given a section of like, oh hey, now you get to explore the world at your leisure, or this is how the world is going to be laid out for you, and stuff. The only thing I can assume, based on like the first section of the game, is that you get to explore the open map, and the map itself has like different sections. So I imagine you'll have like a mission section in which where you select the map and you select the missions that you're going to be going on and stuff like that. I imagine that's something that will eventually play a part in the game. It's hard to say because at the same time, I don't want to put it down too hard because, again, like I said, the combat is awesome. Absolutely love the combat. But as far as, like, what you're going to be expecting to do, as far as, like, oh, hey, this is how you're going to be doing side quests. This is how you're going to be stocking up on accessories and weapons and other stuff of that nature. It's really hard to say what all is going to play a part into, because as you beat the enemies and as you attain items and stuff like that, I'm noticing that you get other accessories, you get other materials and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if the game's going to feature a crafting system in this or not. Again, it's based on what I'm seeing, and it's hard to kind of analyze based on what I'm shown. And all I'm shown is the combat. Again, combat's great, but as far as, like, everything else that's going to happen in the game, I don't know as far as, like, what I'm seeing. I do have a bit of criticism when it comes to this game, and it's not towards the combat, it's not towards the demo. In fact, it's not even based on the game, it's actually the sound. I've had to adjust the sound so many times because of how uneven the sound is. You know, this is a big criticism I have when it comes to video games these days, is whenever the sound section of the game is not as perfect as it needs to be. If there's a game that has precision sounding, then that's perfect. That allows me to adjust the sound the way I want to. I want to be able to hear the characters talk, especially if there's heavy dialogue going on and stuff like that. I don't want blaring music or sound effects drowning out what's going on, because then I can't understand what the characters are trying to say. So it's one of those things where it's like, I understand the impact of sound and music, but only if there are no talking characters that lead on to, like, important story developments and stuff like that. I've had to adjust the sound so many times, it's insane. And the weird thing is, the game starts you off with the master volume at, like, 80. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why does the game start you off with this audio pretty low, like the master volume pretty low? That doesn't really add up to me in my mind. It doesn't really make sense. So I've had to adjust that. I've also adjusted the background noise followed by the music to where that way I can hear the characters talk and stuff. But the audio just, I don't know, it's a little off for me for the time being right now. Hopefully that gets a little bit refined to where that way it's a little bit easier to control. It's okay, I guess. The audio's okay. I just wish that it wasn't so freaking dynamic, I guess is the term I'm looking for, you know? You know how people will say, oh, the orchestra was a little bit too hard on this movie or this film and stuff like that. That's this game's in a nutshell for me when it comes to the audio. The music and sound effects are too booming compared to the characters' voice dialogues. And the voice dialogue is pretty low for me for some reason. I don't know why they did that. It's annoying. But as far as what I'm seeing, I'm loving how the combat's looking. I'm loving how the story's going to be developed. I already got engaged with the story just by halfway through the first part of the demo. I was already intrigued by the story. I was already entangled and invested with these characters and stuff. And that's good. That's good that a story is able to pull me in so easily just based on what I've been experiencing with the main character Clive and his brother Joshua. Needless to say, I'm loving how it's looking. But in terms of, like, everything else, I wish I could experience more of the other aspects of the game. Like, I want to be able to know if the world's going to be explorable, because what I experience is very minimal, and it's hard to say if I'm going to like it or not. The other thing I will say, though, is that in terms of what you do explore, is kind of automatic. Like, you barely have to touch any buttons. If you get near, like, a ledge to jump up to, or a ladder to climb up, or some kind of hole you have to duck down to and stuff like that, you don't have to press anything. It's kind of automatic. Same thing with item gathering. So long as you're close enough to the item, you don't necessarily have to push a button. It just draws to you. And on the one hand, that's not bad. That's a good thing. That means that all you gotta do is just walk around. But it's almost kind of like a level of brain-dead gameplay in which way there's zero interaction whatsoever. I know some people would feel a little bit mixed about that. They would rather have the item come towards them. I'm kind of the same way too, but at the same time, if the game wants me to feel like it's as if I'm actually there, I want to be able to feel like I am actually interacting with the item or something like that. To have it automatically draw to me, it's a little bit weird. I'm not used to that. So I guess it's just a matter of me getting used to that part. Again, I don't want to put down this game and say that it's bad, because it's not. The gameplay is going to be the best selling point of Final Fantasy XVI, and it's so far doing amazing just on that merit alone. But as far as, like, the actual RPG aesthetic, which is, like, you know, exploration, exploring the world, side quests, and stuff like that, which I don't know anything about. I know, according to what was stated online, the base game is going to take up at least 40 hours. And then, like, side quests and stuff like that is going to be, like, 80 hours or something like that. It's not really confirmed. It's just statement that the press release is stating and stuff like that. So it's hard to say if it's true, and if there are side quests, I would like to know what the side quests would be like. I just got to experience the gameplay, which is, I guess, the way the demo is pushing out to be. It's good enough to where you get an idea of what the gameplay is going to be like, especially if you're going to be sold on this game or not. But as far as, like, a traditional RPG, where there's, like, side quests and stuff of that nature, I wish I knew what that was going to be like. I have no other details except for that. I just got to experience the gameplay, and I guess as a demo is supposed to be, that's about the best that you need to experience. But at the same time, I would like to know a little bit more as to what's going on after gameplay. You know, like after each chapter, what goes on outside of the chapters, outside of the story. Like, is there something else going on in terms of side quests, alternate bosses, so on and so forth. It's going to be interesting, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to it. Hope that the main game comes out relatively soon in my store, because I have no way of being able to purchase it outside of just, like, shipping it to me and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a late start for me. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. That's my overall opinions on Final Fantasy XVI from the demo perspective. I'm looking forward to the main game, and hopefully it'll turn out really good, and I can't wait to play more of it. So thank you so much for watching. See you next video. Catch you guys later.